Hey, Mr. Mayor, we are live and ready when you are.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Seldovia City Council, Monday, October 28th, 2024. Time is 6:02 p.m. and we'll go ahead and do a roll call. Rojas.
Here.
Kennedy. John, can you hear me?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Peyton.
Here.
Keithley. I didn't hear your mic, Ashley.
Here.
Okay. And Langbart.
Here.
Okay, we do have 5 out of 6 council members present, currently 1 vacancy. And Heidi or Liz, if you could lead us off in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item C, no excused absences tonight. Item D, agenda approval. We'll go and look for motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda by Keithley with a second by Rojas. Any further discussion on the agenda before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of tonight's agenda. All those in favor, Rojas?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Peyton?
Aye.
Keithley?
Aye.
And Langbart?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes for the agenda approval. The vote of 5 in the affirmative, and that's what we've got, 5 in the affirmative. Let's see, item E, consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are approved with a single motion, no discussion, and 1 vote. A council member may request to remove any item for discussion and a separate vote. Items removed from the consent agenda will be placed under new business. Let's see, tonight there's the approval of minutes of the regular meeting from October 14th, 2024. Those are going to be found on page 5 of your packet. We have 2 ordinances for introduction tonight. That's ordinance 25-04, an ordinance to the City Council of the City of Seldovia, amending Seldovia Municipal Code 11.05.160, damage to the right-of-way, with a recommended public hearing on November 12th, 2024, and that is found on page 8 of your packet. The second ordinance introduction is ordinance 25-05, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Seldovia adopting Seldovia Municipal Code Chapter 10.05 speed restrictions, that has a recommended public hearing also of November 12th, 2024. That can be found on page 9 of your packet. Additional items in the consent agenda, there are 2 resolutions. Item 3A, Resolution 25-14, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, accepting grant funds from the Homer Foundation in the amount of $5,000 to support the operations of the city senior meals program and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute the appropriate documents. That can be found on page 11 of your packet. And then the last item under the consent agenda is item 3B, Resolution 25-15, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, supporting the Kenai Peninsula Assembly adoption of the Kenai Peninsula Borough Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan update, which will include the cities of Seldovia and Seward, and that can be found on page 12 of your packet. And there was a separate attachment with that, also with the entire packet. So I pulled mine down off the website, so that's probably what's on page 12 there. All right. Does any member wish to remove any item at this time off of the consent agenda for further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda as written.
I'll second
that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda as written with that's by Rojas. The second is by Councilmember Payton. Any further discussion on the consent agenda before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of tonight's consent agenda. All those in favor, Rojas.
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Payton,
Aye.
Keithley. Oop, didn't hear you again.
Aye.
Okay, and Langvart.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with 5 in the affirmative. Thank you, everyone. That is tonight's consent agenda is now approved. Item F, mayoral proclamations. We have none tonight. Item G, public presentation for items not on the agenda. Do we have anyone signed up tonight, Liz, to speak?
Yes, we do have Eddie Taylor in the room. Do you want to
Okay.
come up and speak, Eddie?
Sounds good.
Yeah, Eddie Taylor speaking. My concern is my street. That's really a bad trail. And I got holes all through it. And it's when we I'm not sure how Seldovia rates its streets as far as what street gets what. But as soon as it snows, Block Street's fixed to be stopped because they won't grade Block Street because they use the snow for insulation to keep it from freezing. So what that does is that leaves my street, Spillum, the only available street for fire engines, anything, to my house. And right now it's just about unpassable because of the holes in the road and because 2 people further down the road who have piled up stuff along the edges from old equipment to wood where it's just about not usable. So what I'd like to do is have our city manager or whoever's responsible for this to issue whatever needs to be issued to get this ball rolling to clear that street for me and my family before it snows. What do you think?
Heidi, did you want to address that?
Yes, thank you. Through the mayor, we have heard the concerns from the citizen, and we have positioned or written a letter to our executive administrative assistant for the Seldovia Volunteer Fire Department to determine if there is an issue with access for fire and emergency services, as well as have looked at and will continue to look at what those plat lines are and the encroachment into the right of way. As it stands right now, it looks like those items are located on private property. They are within the setback, but they're also temporary items. So that might be something to address in the future on a council front is what that looks like for, I think we've talked about, nuisance or some kind of a clause for maintaining that property. So I can again look at that through legal, and we can have that discussion moving forward. But we are looking into the concern for access for fire and emergency services.
Okay, and is that 30-foot right away, or what's the size of that street right now?
About 10 feet. Because of the stuff on both sides, I've made it about 10 feet wide. with holes in between. You can't even avoid them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep,
Mr.
go ahead.
Yeah, if I could clarification, are we talking about Young Street? Or are we talking about the road that goes to Eddie's house? What was the name of that street? Which I'm confused, I'm sorry. Which street are we talking about that's impassable due to ruts and then stuff?
Spillum,
Sorry,
Spillum Street.
I'm sorry, I still didn't hear you.
Yeah, spill them, Vivian.
Okay, Spillum. Okay,
Yep.
okay. So it's Spillum that is in question right now. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Heidi, so you guys have gone out and looked at that and if it's so right now you're saying that no one is encroaching onto the into the right of way?
Correct. It is on private property and we have had graders go through there recently. Of course, we can do more. It is included on the priority list for the RFP that the council will be considering tonight for material. So when material comes, that will also help us to put more material on the road for that road maintenance. However, graders can pass through that street. And if you look, I'm just pulling up the plat on how wide it is. It looks like, if this has it on here, that row is platted at 35 feet.
35, okay.
There's no way that road's 35 feet, because if it is, a whole bunch of stuff is not on their private property. Or even close to it. There's stacks of wood and heavy equipment within 15 feet of each other, nowhere near 35 feet.
Okay, well, we'll have to yeah, I can go. I mean, someone's gonna have to go out there and Heidi, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's been probably a week or two since I've driven through there. 35 feet is pretty wide. And I would agree that if it's 30, so 17 feet from center line, 17 and a half feet from center line would seem like there would be stuff that's encroaching into the right of way. But I'd have to pull a tape for myself. I don't know if we can. Yeah, without me going out and taking a look at it myself, all I can do is I've got to believe what you're telling me and what you're being told, unless you've gone out and physically looked at it yourself. So Eddie, we'll verify that. We'll look and wait to hear back from the fire department so they can go out and take a look. And then I think the one thing we can do to address I know that it's super bad on that street with the potholes and stuff here. Hopefully after tonight's meeting, then we can get some material and get it down on that road here before the snow flies, or as quick as we can to help with to make that a little better drive here this winter for you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Also, let me reiterate, Block Street is blocked off during the wintertime, so that Spillum is the only right of way to my house, to Troy's yard, to James's cabin. So that's it. And we block that road off so that the line don't freeze. We don't snow plow it. So at some point here, my road becomes essential, period. For anything. Just going to the grocery store. So just want all that on the record.
Okay, Eddie, we'll make sure we we'll get out there, verify that, and then hopefully we'll get some resolution on this.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep. John, you had a comment, then Harmony? John, can you hear me? You're on mute.
Sorry about that, Mayor. I just, I've recently been down that road as well, and the alders have grown over that road pretty hard, and there's definitely some cleaning up there that could be done.
Okay, Harmony?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that in the past, that a couple of those residential properties have been brought to the council's attention. And we at that time did not agree on a way forward on how to address a quote unquote nuisance property. But I would agree with Eddie that I know that we do have ordinances that prohibit people from parking on the roadway during snowfall, during plowing season. But I think it does behoove us to be more on the ball when it comes to making sure people are well away from their setback when it comes to storing heavy equipment or larger materials, just for this, not only for the sake of the passage of emergency vehicles, but also for the health and safety of our equipment and our operators, and also our on-foot pedestrians. I know that there are a couple of people in that neighborhood who do a lot of walking, just as well as, any kids or anybody in the community in general. So if we don't have something on the books that addresses that concern, is it something that I could bring to the next meeting? Maybe talk to Mr. Taylor here. We need to follow up on, as you say, measuring and making sure people are within their setbacks. But I do feel if it's not already in existence in our code, additional language, making sure people respect the right of ways during the winter time, especially for snow removal purposes, is important. That's all.
Okay, thanks, Harmony. All right, well, sounds like there's a couple things we can do and some additional verifications. And either way, yeah, we need to make sure that once Block Street is blocked here for the winter, that everyone recognizes the importance of making sure that we've got that right away cleared, and we can keep it clear to allow emergency vehicles in and out of there, and as well as the residents themselves. So we'll take a look at that going forward here, and hopefully we can get some resolution here pretty quick. Thanks, Eddie, for bringing that up tonight. Liz, do we have anybody else signed up, or anyone else that wants to comment?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, we'll go to item H, Committee and Advisory Board reports. I show none on the agenda. Is that still the case, Liz?
Still correct.
Okay, item I, Administrative reports. We've got the finance report. That's the quarterly. That's found on page 19 of your packet.
Okay. We do have Finance Officer Yeager online.
All right, great.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Can you hear me okay?
Got you loud and clear, Jan.
All right, sorry, I'm just taking a minute to pull things up here because I was making sure I could unmute at the right moment. So you do have the FY25 October 23rd report in your packet. I did notice one error under the general fund with the net effect. It reads that the net effect for FY24 is currently $104,872. That should, of course, read FY25. My apologies for that error. Looking through the general fund, you can see that we have received approximately 39% of our projected revenues, and our sales tax is at 40%, real property tax at 50%, which all sounds, terrific, being just about a third of the way through the year. However, we know from prior years, of course, that sales tax and so on does tend to accumulate more heavily at the beginning of the year than later on. So that will start to even out here in a little bit. On the expense side for the general fund, we are averaging probably right around 30% of expenses, which is about where we want to be. This is actually on the flip side of the sales tax. This is actually good news because, as you know, we did front load our insurance costs, and those do hit the general fund pretty heavily. And so because those costs are already factored in there, and yet still our expenses are at roughly 30% across the fund, that is actually a really good sign in terms of keeping our spending in check and so on. As I think you probably know, some of our funds, we have had some some fairly hefty bills already this year for some infrastructure needs, equipment, and so on, but generally we're still doing pretty well. Our special revenue funds are all currently running in a deficit, but we do expect that again, largely because of having some significant bills at the beginning of the year and having the insurance at the beginning of the year. So I do expect those to start evening out as we go along. And then Harbor, of course, we know that that one runs in the negative until generally March or April, once the annual margins start coming in. I don't have a whole lot of other news. I think, you know, you mentioned in the consent agenda, the grant that was awarded by the Homer Foundation for senior meals, and we greatly appreciate that funding. That I think will make a great difference for us. Even though it's a small amount, I think it's going to be very appreciated as we have continuing to see our numbers of people we serve go up. You know, right now in October, we're serving more people per meal than we used to serve in the summertime, or even with people leaving for the winter. And so, and of course, we all know grocery prices and so on are higher. And so that $5,000 is greatly appreciated. And I just want to thank the Homer Foundation for sponsoring that project once again. This is the second time that they've done that in the last 3 years for us. So I don't have anything in particular to point out, but I am certainly open for questions.
Great, thanks, Jan. Any questions or comments from council on the finance report tonight? Great. All right. Well, thank you, Jan. Appreciate it. Okay, next up, let's see. Do we have the harbor report in here?
It's in the laydown, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, that's where it's at. All right. Yep, there it is. Page 3 of the laydown. Hopefully Layla's here with us tonight. Perfect.
I am. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So just touching bases, this month has been kind of a busy one with catching up and prepping for the winter time. Seems like it flew by pretty quickly. Just last week, I was in Homer at the Harbor Master Conference, and it was really nice to just meet people whom I've only met by email and phone calls, including the Moffett and Nickel team working on the Jackloff dock. So we winterized the water system on the docks here in town on the 10th this year, which was a week earlier or a week later than normal, with the temperatures that we've had. So that was a plus to get a little bit of extra time with the water down there. We also received our impoundment manual from Holly Wells. This has been a couple-year-long project, and it'll be a great help for streamlining the process. And now we know it's in line with the Seldovia Municipal Code. So I included a picture of Jackaloff just because it looked actually pretty this time of the year. And that picture at the end of the report was on October 19th. So it's still kind of busy out there, surprisingly. So, and that's all I really got.
Great. Thank you, Layla. Anyone have any questions or comments for Layla? Hey, Layla, I have just one on the Jackaloff dock there. After the last couple of big blows, is that thing kind of where you want it right now? Or are you waiting on more pieces and parts for any of the stuff that keeps breaking, the pile hoops, the bolts, any of that stuff? Or are we as good as we can be here for a while?
We're about as good as we can be. All the piling hoops have already been replaced. Those were all completed last year. So they're all good and tight. I was just out on the dock yesterday, and it's actually looking pretty good considering what it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Well, appreciate that. Anyone else? Questions, comments for Layla? Okay, great. Thanks, Layla. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Yep, you too. All right, the last one is the Public Works Maintenance Report, and that's going to be found on page 23 of your packet.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I wanted
Yep.
to just introduce Tommy Bowling, our new Public Works employee. He is here in the room. I don't know if you can see him in the far corner of the screen, waving his hand there. So if you see him out and about in a town, definitely say hello. We'll have to see if we could arrange a time for him to meet everybody individually. He can maybe provide a little bit of an update, but he's still just kind of catching up and learning the ropes as he goes. But certainly wanted the opportunity for you guys to meet him.
Great. Welcome aboard, Tom.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, we're here if you have questions, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, yep, sounds good. I'm just reading through here all the ongoing, the typical fall, same thing, getting winterized, water shutoffs. Let's see, do we have all the water and sewer, water leaks fixed now, or are we still waiting on, any of those?
No, we have an area on Anderson that still needs to be repaired this fall. It's turned off, so it's not running water, but it does need to be dug up and the corp stop replaced. However, our water treatment plant is holding steady between 40 and 50,000 gallons a day. So that's pretty good for us.
Okay, great. Yeah, I will talk more about the boil water, I'm sure, in your report, as well as the asphalt. But that is one big thing. I saw that everyone got. So I assume it was our guys that did all the prep for the asphalt prior to the crew coming over.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that I didn't drive across all of them, but the few I did looked like they turned out pretty well there. So that's nice to get that knocked out here before winter time. Sure, everyone's going to be pretty happy about that. So, all right. Anyone else? Questions, comments on Public Works report? All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. And again, welcome aboard, Tommy. Appreciate good seeing you there, and I'm sure we'll see you around.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Tommy.
Thank y'all.
All right, next item will be item K, public hearings, none. Item L, unfinished business, none. Item M, new business. Item M1, action memorandum 25-03, approving the appointment of Jack Barber to the vacant city council seat until a successor is seated after the October 7th, 2025 regular election. And this will be found on page 24 of your packet. And Heidi or Liz, if you want to give us the overview on that.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So following our October 1st regular election, there was a council seat was declared vacant, and we put out to public notice for that vacancy, and we received one application from Jack Barber, who submitted a declaration of interest, and that is summarized in the action memorandum. And upon review of that, it was confirmed that he is qualified and eligible to take the seat, and that seat would be seated until a successor or till the next regular election, October 7th, 2025. So that would be an appointment here. And I've attached the public notice of council vacancy on the following page, which was posted and sent out. And all of the candidates that were written in were attempted to be contacted to find out their level of interest. So with this action memorandum, if approved, it would appoint Jack Barber to the vacant city council seat until a successor is seated after that regular election in 2025. And open for questions, but otherwise I turn it back over to the council, sir.
Okay, sounds good. And I just wanted to clarify one thing. So if this is approved, then it would take effect immediately or right after the meeting?
Typically at the adjournment of the meeting.
Okay, at the adjournment of the meeting. Okay, and that's based on you'd gone out and got checked with our legislative specialist on that just to see how, because I know I had inquired about how that process worked on when the effective time would take place on that.
Yeah, so I checked in with our local government specialist about that. Our Seldovia municipal code states that newly elected officials take their seat at the adjournment of the meeting, and it was their recommendation that that applied unless otherwise stated to appointments as well.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
And if we'd like to change that, we should update our code.
Gotcha. Okay, nope, fair enough. Just wanted to just understand that for everyone. So, all right. In terms of action memorandum 25-03, I'll turn it over to council. Anyone have any questions, comments on that?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to thank Mr. Barber for stepping forward and being on the council, and I am in favor of his appointment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. Harmony?
Welcome to the conversation, Jack. We're happy to have you.
Okay, great. Anyone else?
Mayor Campbell,
Yep, go ahead, John.
I'm in favor as well.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, yep, I too will be supporting action memorandum 25-03. Yeah, as we all know, it's tough to operate when you're less than a full council, and obviously I appreciate we all volunteer, and our entire government with the council and mayoral positions are all volunteer positions. So sometimes this happens when we end up with the vacancy, and then we look for volunteers in the community, and it looked like there was a number of folks that wanted to step up. So, and at the end of the day, if Jack is the one that gets the nod, then that's great. So yeah, I'll be in support of action memorandum 25-03 as well. Any further comments from council before we go to public? Okay, is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak or signed up on action memorandum 25-03?
Nobody has signed up to speak prior, Mr. Mayor. Anybody want to speak?
Okay, I don't know if Jack had anything he wanted to do or anything, or as a citizen.
Time for public comment, Jack, if you'd like to speak before they vote on the appointment.
Oh, did he push the button there? There we go. Hang tight, Jack. That's the same mic as last week. We're having the exact same problem that we had last week. It is garbled and we cannot hear that mic. I don't know why.
Got this.
Yep, much better.
Make a comment about.
Just if you want to make a comment. You don't have to.
Anyway, how about now, Mr. Mayor? Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go, Jack.
Yeah, anyways, my name was put in there, and I appreciate the interest of letting me be on the council, and hopefully I can help the community as solve and get through some of its essential projects that we need to have happen here. Other than that, hopefully I can work with everybody and be on a positive note. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate that. All right. We'll go ahead and bring it back to council for final action, and I'll look for a
Mayor Campbell.
Yep. Go ahead, John.
I'd like to make a motion approving action memorandum 2503, approving the appointment of Jack Barber to the vacant city council seat until successor is seated after the October 27th, 2025 regular election.
Second.
Second.
Okay, sounds good. We have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy to approve action memorandum 25-03. And I missed who the second was. Was that Meg that seconded that?
Is Peyton.
Okay, Harmony with a Councilmember Peyton on the second. Any further discussion on action memorandum 25-03 before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of action memorandum 25-03. All those in favor, Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
and Langbart.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with a vote of 5 in the affirmative. That's action memorandum 25-03, appointing Jack Barber to the vacant seat for the city council. All right, welcome aboard, Jack. Appreciate that. And so you'll be online. It'll take effect immediately as we adjourn this meeting. And then we'll get you sworn in, and then you'll be ready to go here for the next meeting. So welcome aboard. Okay, thanks everyone. We'll go to item M2, resolution 25-16, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, awarding requests for proposals. RFP number 01-2025, purchase of gravel, crushed rock, and materials for roads to Hopkins Brothers Construction, Inc., and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute the appropriate documents. This will be found on page 26 of your pamphlet, and I'll let the city staff present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So a request for proposal was published on September 24th, 2024 and closed on October 21st, 2024 at 3 p.m. We received 2 bids. The request for proposal funding is from the state appropriations that has been secured by the city of Seldovia in the amount of $88,000 for safe roads material for the safe roads project. A portion of that, I would just like to remind you guys, it was the asphalt pavement, and that was about a $25,000 project with a 22% of that returned to the city that we invoiced out. So about 20,000 has been expended so far. We have about 68,000, and then we have another 22,000 on the side from the federal appropriations that we're still trying to figure out how to get into our hands. But at this point, we have about 68,000 available to us. We did put out 2 bids. We did not include a maximum limit on it, and as you can see, we received a bid from Hopkins Brothers Construction and a bid from Dibble Creek Rock. Both proposals were reviewed and scored, and upon that review, it was determined by staff to recommend that Hopkins Brothers Construction be awarded the contract as the lowest and most responsive proposal. After that, it's just some housekeeping information about how procurement works through our code. And you can see in here, there is a whereas, the second to last whereas, that includes that these funds should not exceed $67,883.80. And that is the remainder as it stands right now of those appropriations. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Oh, and I would like to include also the last whereas that the proposal submitted by Hopkins Brothers also included an optional delivery to project location sites and optional additional equipment rentals to spread and compact material at the city's choice. And so that would be an additional cost for him to complete the work, but it is an option available.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, we'll open it up to resolution 25-16 for comment. John, I see you got your hand up.
I'm just wondering, was that the bid that we would receive the gravel up front and be stockpiled, or would be delivered on an as-needed basis?
Excellent question through the mayor. I should have clarified better that through Hopkins' proposal, he is able to store the material for us, and then for us to grab the material as needed or have the material delivered as needed. Whereas most of the other options the proposal provided by Dibble Creek would have required us stockpiling it on city property.
Okay, I'm good with that. I just otherwise was hoping we'd have an opportunity to weigh in on some thoughts on that. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, John.
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
Yep. Go ahead, Meg.
does Block Street, is that added in with the resurfacing of the roads? Or, I mean, is that one of the future projects for this?
Yeah, I think we can, I mean, based on what the staff's got on the assessment of all the roads, I think any of the roads are available to receive topping. It's just a matter of the prioritization. And Heidi, you had shared that list at one point, I believe, way back when we were talking, when we were actually submitting for funding for Safe Roads, I believe.
Correct, Mr. Mayor, as well as it was included in the RFP. However, I am a little remiss that I didn't include that RFP in this packet. But from a few council meetings ago, it was included. And those recommended projects were Block Street, here we go. City Clerk Diamond has it, so I can read them off to you. Kachemak Street, Cedar Street and Alder Street corner, Block Street, Harbor parking lot, Rocky Street near Frank Reeby Street to either cover up that culvert or if we remove it, which is a project we're working on this side, just to add more material to it. And then Councilmember Swick at the time had requested that we also focus on both boat ramp properties.
Okay, so as part of Block, it starts off at Block, then it hits the corner, and then it turns into Spillum there.
Correct, and that was the intent, is Block and Spillum.
Okay, yep, just wanted to clarify that. So, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then, so once we've got material, then I guess you guys are just going to go out and that list will be prioritized to start picking the roads and then starting one street at a time, I assume.
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other questions, comments from council? Okay, I'll definitely be in favor of approval on this. This is basically went out to competitive bid. We've done our homework on this. We've got the money, so it's time to get some material and get it on the roads here as quick as possible. So this is long overdue, obviously. Then hopefully we can continue to work for the rest of the money. So I'll definitely be in favor of Resolution 25-16. Any other comments, questions, concerns before we go to public? Okay, anyone from the public that wants to speak or signed up for regarding Resolution 25-16?
Nobody signed up. And did you want to comment on the? Okay. Yeah, so we have no public comment at this time.
Okay, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council for final action on Resolution 25-16.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to put a motion to approve Resolution 25-16.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Rojas to approve Resolution 25-16 with a second by Kennedy. Any further discussion on the resolution before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of Resolution 25-16. All those in favor, Rojas?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Payton?
Aye.
Keithley?
Aye.
And Langbart?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes for Resolution 25-16. It's approved with 5 voting in the affirmative. Okay, item M3, resolution 25-17, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, adopting a City of Seldovia temporary speed hump installation policy utilizing Seldovia Municipal Code 11.05.040B encroachment permits, and we'll let the city manager take this one away. This will be found on page 29 of your packet.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this came from a previous discussion with the city council, where the draft policy was presented for consideration. You can see that it is in here. It's similar to the original form. However, this is draft version 2, as it updated the language to be more inclusive of neighborhoods. Even that first sentence says this policy is established as a process for neighborhoods and individuals to collaboratively apply for installing temporary speed humps on city roads. And yes, you'll notice that I'm using the terminology humps instead of bumps because there is a difference. And when we're talking about right-of-ways, it's humps. I was also directed to include a statement of justification that has been updated on page 33 of the draft petition. And then on the encroachment permit itself, as an other attachment, that petition was concluded under the category of other attachments. So those updates were made. I also included on page 37 the recommendations for appropriate application and size of speed humps per the Federal Highway Administration. So that goes from page 37 through 43. Lastly, the memo from the previous discussion on October 9th has been included just as reference. So here for any questions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. All right, we'll go ahead and open up resolution 25-17 for discussion. Anyone from council wishing to comment on resolution 25-17?
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, just saying that I support and I thank the staff for getting together this policy to help our community out. So I will be in favor of resolution 25-17. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. Anyone else wish to comment on resolution 25-17?
Mayor Campbell,
Yep, go ahead, John.
I'm in favor as well. I'd like to have a little more time to read the information once she gets the final draft on it.
Okay, thank you, John.
Yep.
Hey, Heidi, real quick, what is the difference between a speed hump and a speed bump, if I might ask?
So size is part of it, but mostly it's placement. Speed bumps are in parking lots and private drives, and speed humps are on public right-of-ways. However, there is a discrepancy with size. Typically, speed bumps are that narrower, taller, 6-inch installation, whereas a speed hump will be a little wider and a little shorter.
Gotcha. It's not okay. So it's not as abrupt as a hump is not as abrupt as the bumps where you have to slow down to like 1 or 2 miles an hour or you really smash. Whereas a hump, you can still you'll slow, but you'll still be able to drive over it at a relatively at a much slower speed or a much faster speed than going over a bump.
Correct. And then that'll be a long, typically it's one solid piece, though that doesn't always have to be the case. And the other difference between that, in my research, is for bicycle safety. The hump is more, is safer for bicycles versus the bump.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And obviously I've seen some of the changes around Anchorage and the way they've transitioned some of the older, nastier bumps to where they're much, much easier to go across now. So, okay. Yep. Makes sense. I just wanted to clarify that. So Meg, you got your hand up?
Yeah, real quick, does the 2-year period apply to gravel roads? Because obviously the months that it snows, they would be removed. So is that it's 2 years no matter what? No matter if it's a gravel road or if it's a paved road? Through the mayor, if I may.
Yep.
So the 2-year is how long the permit is applicable. The speed humps can only be installed May through September because of snow. But if an individual has a permit, they can install it May through September, and then the next year again May through September, depending on when they receive the permit, without having to reapply and purchase an additional $250 permit application.
Okay, thanks, Heidi, for clarification.
Okay. Any further comments on resolution 25-17? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move over to public. Anyone that wishes to comment on resolution 25-17?
Seeing none, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and bring resolution 25-17 back to council for final action.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 25-17.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from member Rojas to approve resolution 25-17 with a second by member Payton. Any further discussion on resolution 25-17 regarding the speed hump policy before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go and vote on the approval of resolution 25-17. All those in favor, Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Payton,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
and Langbart.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with a vote of 5 in the affirmative, and that is the approval of resolution 25-17. Thank you, everyone, for that. All right, we'll go to our last item tonight for legislative item M4, resolution 25-18, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, authorizing the issuance of RFP number 02-2025, the logo rebrand for the City of Seldovia and city departments. And this will be found on page 49 of your packet, and we'll go ahead and let the city manager take that one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this has been something that's been kicked around for a few years. I know we discussed this, I believe, in the spring with council. Not necessarily a necessity, but a desire from staff and some of the community to see that logo for the city of Seldovia more rebranded. And we've certainly had a few different temporary logos over the last couple of years that I believe really shows a desire to just update that image. It was included in the budget this year for, or a $500 line item was included in the budget this year for promoting and marketing the city of Seldovia that could be utilized for this endeavor. And in speaking with the executive administrator, Diane, we were talking about, marketing and promoting Seldovia, and that really, if we're going to do that, we should have this discussion first. And if we're going to pursue a logo rebrand, move ahead with it before we look at any promotion materials for the city. So utilizing that line item for this endeavor this year, and then maybe in future years, looking at what we can do with that for little promotional items. You'll see that RFP itself starts on page 50, and it includes some suggestions of what distinctive environment or cultural items could be included in the logo, as well as that we are looking for a citywide logo and an underlying Seldovia Port and Harbors and Seldovia Public Works. I did put this out to the Seldovia Volunteer Fire Department and received back an answer after them, or an answer from them after the packet was published, that they would also like to be included in the proposal. So it would be updated to include them as a department logo that we would like to see created. There are some basic design requirements, that clean lines capable of being simplified or grayscale for large scale printing jobs, creative and original with a fresh take on a traditional design or a completely new design. They must be suitable for letterhead, websites, and marketing material, no plagiarism or use of AI generated work, and must be scalable. We put a timeline in here of January 31st, 2025 for completion, and that we would like to have at least 2 rounds of revisions available after the initial design is presented. As well as a part of that RFP is that they would submit a general design suggestion for the city of Seldovia and one department and past material. Maximum budget included in that is the $500. And if you look at the last page, 52, you can see our current logo, the traditional design, as well as some of the specialty logos utilized over the last couple of years. And then there's a bid form included, leaving it open for a lump sum estimate or an hourly estimate. And staff determined to take this approach. We've talked about a logo contest. It's come up over and over again. I've seen a few logo contests recently. One has been fairly successful, one not so much. And honestly, if you Google it and look up logo contests, they're not very favorable. So, and trying to think through this process and how do we get a selection of people, of qualified graphic designers or individuals who would like to present their ideas and potentially work with the city. This was the next best solution. So open to questions, ideas from council. This is the idea going forward for a rebrand, if that's desired.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Heidi. We'll go ahead and open up 2518 for discussion. If anyone from council has any comments.
Mayor Campbell.
Yep, go ahead, Meg. Oh, sorry, John. I just saw Meg's hand up there.
Is it Meg's hand? Okay.
Yep, go ahead, Meg.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. I'm in favor of this redesign or rebrand, excuse me. And I was thinking we should possibly reach out to Valisa and see if maybe she would want to partake in this, because I think that would be a really good candidate to submit a design.
Okay, thanks, Meg. John?
No issues from me either. We probably should start here and then go from there. Just not much. I just don't know if you're going to get much interest with that short amount of funds.
Yep, thanks, John. Yeah, I'll just comment real quick. I think yeah, the 500 will be a little light probably on that. We just went through that with our golf cart rental business, and I was looking at the city's current logo. What we did is we took our original logo that was just round, had mountains, a golf cart, and a bike on it, and I told my designer I wanted to keep with basically the same theme, but I wanted it custom. We just took clip art and I wanted it custom. And I was the first round. There was 6 designs that came out. I didn't like any of them, but I didn't give up. I said, let's go a different direction. And she came back and absolutely hit it out of the ball. I wish I was looking for some examples here, but absolutely hit it out of the ballpark. You put the 2 side by side. It takes the original one, the new one, all the same elements are there. It's round, but it's all the custom artwork now. And yeah, I was super, super happy. So I think with the approach too of doing the RFP, letting someone, not a logo, it's not a logo contest. You explain what you're gonna do, fill out the RFP, and then someone gets the opportunity to work with the council, because there's going to be multiple iterations to get it right. If you have a contest and it's a one-shot deal, right? And there was just some really small, subtle things that I wanted changed when I went through the final iterations, and I was super happy with it. So I'm definitely in favor of it. We'll see what we get for response to RFP. I think there's at least 2 or 3 in the community that would be interested in it. So yeah. So I don't know if we have to necessarily start from scratch, but I think some of the current stuff we have could be a little more relevant, and then still keeping some of those elements, the original elements that we have in our logo. So yep, I'll be in favor. Anyone else from council?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah, I too am in support. I talked to Heidi briefly about this, that I'd actually seen it, kind of sitting there on the last few meetings and her manager's report. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of one of those fluff things. But at the same time, I think this is a really important time, because when we started the conversation together, I was like, I couldn't even begin to tell you what our logo is for the city. And that kind of spoke to me, because especially being a little city, a village, a community, I think it's even more important that we have something that's recognizable and fresh, because with all the tourism and the people coming in, you want them to have that memory. And I think that's what we need this logo to be, is something that when they see it, they remember, oh yeah, when I was in Seldovia. So it might be the city's logo, but I think it's really it's like a community logo. And that's why I also like the fact of having it incorporate the other departments as their sub logos as well, because then it's something that can be seen more throughout. Maybe family members, are going to be excited to wear like mom or dad's logo for the department they work at the city, and their sweatshirt, just like we wear the school shirts. Like it's that community piece. And I think it will really help spread the word of Seldovia and give the city those tools to then use, even if we give them just a little budget of $500 every year, to have something really nice to say, okay, this year we're going to order this swag that's going to be able to be sold or, given out to spread the word of Seldovia. So I support this.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. Anyone else before we go to public? Okay, we'll go ahead and go over to public. Any public comment on resolution 25-18, Liz? And we did lose the feed from the council chambers. We can only see the letters. There we go.
Sorry about that. And we do not have any comments from the public for this.
Okay. We'll go ahead and bring resolution 25-18 back to the council for final action and a motion.
Mayor Campbell,
Yep, go ahead, John.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 25-18. Resolution of the City Council, City of Seldovia, Alaska, authorizing the assurance of RFP 2025 logo brand for the City of Seldovia and city departments.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy to approve resolution 25-18 with a second by Langbart. Any further discussion on resolution 25-18 before we vote? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor for the approval of resolution 25-18, Rojas.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Peyton.
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
and Langbart.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with a vote of 5 in the affirmative, and that is for the approval of resolution 25-18. Okay, thank you everyone for that. Item N, city manager's report. And this should be found in your laydown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The long-awaited report, and yes, it does address asphalt and the boil water notice. So first thing on page 6, boil water notice on Friday, October 25th. The residual chlorine count for the water entering the distribution system from the water storage tank fell below the minimum required level to provide adequate treatment. A preliminary factor in this failure was that the week before, there was a failure in the main control panel for the chlorine injection that left a 7-hour and 15-minute period where chlorine was not being injected into the water flowing into the storage tank. However, staff did compensate for that. But additionally, and this was probably, according to DEC, the bigger issue, as additionally during this time the turbidity was really high, and there were periods where of that high turbidity from the raw water coming into the plant, and so the turbidity even for the treated water at one point was high. So in order to counteract that, staff decreased or reduced the flow of water coming into the plant to help those filters be able to combat that high turbidity, and so that reduced the flow of treated water going into the tank. A regular backwash was performed on Thursday, October 24th, and during this week period, staff continued to keep a close eye on water samples at raw water coming into the facility, the water going into the storage tank, and then the water at the entry point for the distribution system. And the levels remained within adequate level for treatment. However, staff did note that the chlorine residuals were a little bit low. In discussion with ARWA and our remote supervisor, Todd Cook, it was recommended and staff drained 4 feet from the water storage tank with the intent to refill that tank with chlorinated water, and that was on Thursday evening. However, this was not something that had been noted previously, and was found out during or after this event occurred, that the draining of the tank actually dropped the water levels, and so that was from 16 feet to 12 feet. Too low for the booster pump that provides water back into the plant to mix coagulant and help filter and remove that turbidity. So then that further slowed down production. It remained low because of the coagulant problem, and then was a perfect storm on Friday, reducing that total volume of chlorine in the tank for the distribution system. So we were monitoring it and taking samples every hour or a couple of hours. And at that point on Friday morning, I think it was about 11:30, the sample taken was lower than what was adequate. We notified DEC and issued a boil water notice due to that drop in chlorine levels. And that notice was posted on social media, as well as staff called approximately 205 customers in a 2.5-hour period and hand delivered 15 notices to businesses and 3 individuals who were not able to be notified or get a hold of over the phone. So we hand delivered those out. Additionally, Jordan Cameron, now with ARWA, came to Seldovia on Saturday to provide assistance in returning the chlorine treatment to adequate levels. And he was here Saturday and Sunday. And Todd Cook, our remote supervisor, came over today to help. One of the requirements to get us back online is that we now have to flush the whole system. So he's here with Radzi to help perform that. And then we can send a sample out to DEC, or not DEC, sorry. We can send a sample out to the Alaska Water Laboratory. And then upon receiving a verification that our chlorine levels are back on track, we can remove the boil water notice. We were really hoping to accomplish this, to have the chlorine levels up high enough Sunday in order to do the flush Sunday and the test first thing this morning and get it on a plane. However, there were a couple other things with the plant. It went down Saturday night because it thought that its levels, the sensor levels on the tank, that the tank was full, even though the tank wasn't full. So that was adjusted. Just a few things. I think, even though it's only a 7-year-old system, it is a 7-year-old system. So it's just having these little minor aches and groans that needed to be adjusted and worked with, especially with the sensors. I'm happy to report that today Radzi said it's running beautifully, better than it has for a while, and everything is just going top notch the way it should be. However, we do remain under that boil water notice until we can get that sample back. So I'm going to check in and make sure that goes out first thing in the morning. We're hoping to have a quick turnaround and hopefully get those results Wednesday would be the earliest, and get that notice out to the public. So definitely here for questions, and then I can continue with the report.
Any questions from anyone on council? All right. Yeah, Heidi, I mean, you talked about that. I know you called me right away when that happened, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, pretty straightforward, right? It's like anything else. It's a piece of equipment, and equipment breaks from time to time. Luckily, you guys caught it as quick as possible, and it looks like we're well underway to getting things sorted back out. Obviously, boiled water's not ideal, but it could be a lot worse. So we'll get back up and running here pretty quick, and hopefully no one's worse for wear here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would also like to point out that our operator Radzi has been taking copious notes, and he is writing up a report, a briefing of what happened in his own words. And then we're going to make sure that that's incorporated in our operating manual at the water treatment plant, so that especially for like that pump, we know how high the levels need to be for that to run adequately, and just anything else that was observed that we can continue to address moving forward.
Okay, real quick, thank you, Heidi, for that. And then John, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so the target date to be back in service would be then Thursday, maybe?
Here's hoping. It depends on
Okay.
how fast we can get that sample back, or the
Okay.
results back from the sample.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay, thanks, Heidi.
Okay, moving on then, if there's no other questions on that, I wanted to bring your guys' attention. I'm not sure if we've touched on this before, about orphan accounts. So we have this list of accounts that's been sitting on the city books since before my time at the city, and that I started in 2017. They've been noted regularly during audits. We continue to just hold these funds, the small amount of funds that sit in each account. And the last couple of years, the auditors said, hey, you guys really should address these funds, figure out what you're going to do with them. And so Diane Gruber did a great deep dive, went through our files, pulled out information she could pertaining to these funds, as well as we know some of the history on them, and that really some of them actually pertain to projects that we have in our CIP, or that we're interested in seeing go forward in the future. Finance Officer Yeager has some ideas on how she can expend the city can expend some of the smaller ones. For instance, you'll see that there is the $58 police fuzz fund, and there's the $393 share project, which is for the RV park, or the $558 for fire and EMS. And so those are some that if we wanted to, we could expend them out this fiscal year. But we want to make sure that, this is a council decision. So having this discussion open with the public and with the council, we'll review the history of these accounts or what we know about them, and then are looking for direction and determination from council on how to proceed. Some of them, it would make sense. We can transfer them into a reserve account or start a reserve account that we're noting and tracking in our AMLIP, similar to our MMRP or our vehicle fund or Susan Lake. And like I said, some of them we could expend. Those are kind of the options there. So just trying to bring this to your guys' attention, as we should have a work session for it. Maybe this is a great work session to hold at the beginning of the budget season. So end of January. We can hold it sooner if council likes. But I want to have this at your guys's, have this on the back of your guys' minds, that we will need to have this discussion. As mentioned, the asphalt patchwork was completed, and that project is being funded through the Material for Safe Roads appropriation from the state. Our tsunami inundation brochure is finally making progress. We have 2,000 brochures being printed by the state and shipped, and we'll share those and distribute them between the city of Seldovia and Seldovia Village Tribe. That was a great collaborative project, and we're really excited to be able to get those out into the community. Stop signs, 5 of the 8 new stop signs have been installed. The last 3 will go up soon. It really is a 2-person job. You wouldn't have thought it, but with the way the rivets and bolts are on those signs and getting them up and down, it's easier if 2 people are able to be a part of that process. And then AML Local Government Conference. I know we keep bringing this up, kind of like a broken record, but want to make sure it's on everybody's mind. The conference is held between December 9th and the 13th in Anchorage. We've begun to make arrangements for travel and lodging and are tentatively scheduling travel for the following. So please follow up with this if this is not your desire or intent, or if you're not on the list and want to be on the list. But we have Councilmember Langbart for December 9th, the newly elected officials training. Councilmember Keithley for December, and Councilmember Payton for December 11th through 13th for the AML conference portion. Mayor Campbell, we're hoping will be able to attend as he is able, if he is in Anchorage at the time. And then now we have our newly appointed Councilmember Jack Barber, who we will get a hold of and see if he has any interest in attending any of the sessions. So if you don't be surprised if you get a call this week confirming and asking for information so that we can make those arrangements. Last couple items here. Aqua Stormwater Management Funding Program. The city of Seldovia submitted 3 grant applications for stormwater management based on feedback received from staff in the community, prioritizing stormwater management needs. Those projects were Main Street infrastructure improvements, citywide infiltration and Catchmark Drive study, and Vista Avenue and Frank Raby Drive culvert replacement project with accompanying street sweeper. The City Council Priority Retreat is typically held at the end of the year, looking at end of November or beginning of December time. However, I wanted to ask if that's still the desire of council, because you guys set it up pretty well last year for a broad overview of 3 priorities that were a broad overview of all of the additional little priorities that you guys work on through the year, those being listed on page, this doesn't have page numbers, the last packet of page of the packet: improving city finances, capital improvement plan priorities and goals, and community development. So if you guys want to have a retreat and do a little overview of these, see if anything needs to be updated, I can see just in looking at it that we could take off the return kiosk funds. That was done. Capital budget, we're working on that. Closing the general fund and small boat harbor deficit has happened. So maybe the improving city finances needs some more top priorities listed under it. The CIP, we've just had this discussion about projects. We can look at them again and see if those are still the top. Community development, same. So I leave that up to you guys if you want to hold that work session, or if you want a resolution presented and just to have a quick discussion about it. You tell me what you would like time-wise. And then the historic boardwalk and the rest of the items listed have already been presented in a previous city manager's report, and I'm open for questions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. John, did you have your hand up? Sorry, I saw that. I wasn't sure if that was a carryover, if you had a new question, comment.
I have a question.
Yep.
And it was on the surplus accounts. Do you have a total for that, Heidi? I looked at them earlier tonight, but I didn't add them up. It looks like, what is there, $8,000 or $10,000 there?
Yeah, I have not added them up together.
Looks like
There.
about 15 on quick math, pretty close to 15.
Right, so you could divide it into 6 and send us each a check. That was just a joke. But
Nice try.
yeah, right. I don't know. I don't know if maybe we shouldn't find something that is a high priority that would take care of and get one more little project off our list. Maybe some alders on the trail out to Susan Lake that's not high on the list, but is for a lot of the community members, or something like that.
Well, it'd probably take care of a good little chunk of boardwalk materials and or, fix that pavilion up. And yeah, we could do, I think there's some good work that we could do with that would have a direct immediate impact for the whole community for sure.
And it'd be a fun project for everybody too.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely more discussion on that one for sure. All right, any other questions, comments from council? Okay, Heidi, thank you for your report. As always, lots of information on there. All right, looks like we've got item O, informational items not requiring action. Seldovia City Office will be closed Monday, November 11th in observance of Veterans Day. And then real quick, I'll just add one as well on that one, that regular election next Tuesday, coming up Tuesday the 5th. What time do polls open and close down there?
Through the mayor, the polls open at 7 a.m. and they close at 8 p.m.
Okay, 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. for open and closing of election polls. So that's good to know. And if it's any indication of what's going on around the U.S., it's probably going to be a busy day. So that'll be good. Item P, executive session, none. Item Q, council and mayor comments concerning items not on the agenda. Rojas.
Yeah, again, welcome to Jack Barber. And so our city manager, great job with your report for the week. And to the city staff for really taking care of this chaos that happened with the water treatment plant. Good kudos to everybody who worked hard on that. And thank you to the council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. Kennedy.
Yeah, same for me. Thanks for all the good work everybody's done in the last couple of weeks, and welcome aboard, Jack Barber.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Peyton.
Yep, same here. You girls always give such thorough reports. You guys do so much work and we appreciate you so much. Welcome, Jack. It's exciting to have you on board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Keithley.
Also, same here. Welcome to the party, Jack. Thank you for stepping up. It's appreciated. I know everybody says it's a lot of work, but it can be fun. And Tommy, thank you also for stepping into our community at a crucial time. I know many of us were on our tippy toes hoping we would have full staff going into the winter, because you never know what it's going to bring. And the rest of the staff, thank you for all your hard work. It's exciting what we've got going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Ann Langvart.
Welcome aboard, Jack. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Heidi, and thank you, Liz.
Okay, thank you, Meg. And Harmony, did you have something additional?
I did have a quick question. Sorry
Okay.
to forget this earlier. Will Willie Brunn be joining the crew for the winter, just for helping out, getting everybody ready for the winter?
Through
I
the
know he's a
mayor.
good operator. I was just wondering.
Through the mayor, Will Brunn has not approached the city about coming back, and through the grapevine has other plans and inclinations this winter.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I was wondering that myself. So thanks for asking that, Harmony. Appreciate that. All right, our next meeting is going to be on Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 at 6 p.m. And I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn by Langbart, second by Rojas. Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Good
All
night.
right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Mr. Campbell, I was going to take this opportunity to swear Mr. Barber in if people want to stay online for that.
Liz,
Okay.
you were muffled.
Sounds good.
Okay, for those that didn't hear me, we're going to take a moment and swear Jack in for those who want to stay online.
Okay.
Okay, so you can repeat after me. I
I,
state your name.
Jack Barber, do solemnly swear that affirm I will support the Constitution of the United States and the law and the ordinances of the city of Seldovia, state of Alaska, and I will faithfully and honestly perform the duties of the office of the council members of the city of Seldovia.
All right. Thank you, Jack. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, Jack. Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
What have you signed? A copy for me?
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Okay,
Yeah,
good
night.
thanks, everyone. Good night.